There's a special kind of fury that comes from being left for someone younger, prettier, and richer, and an even more special kind of justice, when the universe decides to rewrite your story exactly 7 days later, with 6 winning numbers that change everything. This is about the week that destroyed me and rebuilt me into something my ex-boyfriend never saw coming. His name was Marcus, and he broke up with me on a Tuesday. Not because we fought, not because the passion died, but because Jennifer Hartley, yes, that Jennifer Hartley, daughter of the Hartley commercial real estate empire, decided she wanted him. And Marcus had always been the type of man who traded up when a better offer arrived. We'd been together for 4 years. 4 years of splitting rent on a modest apartment in a neighborhood that was up and coming but never quite arrived. 4 years of me working double shifts as an ER nurse while he pursued his entrepreneurial ventures that somehow never generated actual income. 4 years of believing that love and loyalty meant something, that the life we were building together mattered more than bank account balances and social status. I was wrong. Vanessa, you have to understand, he said, not even having the decency to look guilty. We were sitting in our living room, my living room now, and he'd already packed 2 suitcases. Jennifer can offer me opportunities. Connections. Her father wants to bring me into the business. This is about my future. What about our future? I asked, hating how small my voice sounded. He had the audacity to look sympathetic. You're a great person. You'll find someone. But I need to think about building wealth, about positioning myself for success. You understand, right? I understood perfectly. I understood that 4 years of supporting him, believing in him, loving him, meant absolutely nothing when someone with a trust fund and a last name that opened doors showed interest. I understood that I'd been a placeholder, a warm body to keep him company until something better came along. Get out, I said. Vanessa, get out. He left with his suitcases and his rationalizations, and I sat in that apartment we'd shared, surrounded by memories that now felt contaminated. The couch we'd bought together at a thrift store, the coffee table I'd refinished while he told me about his dreams, the framed photo of us at the beach, both of us laughing, both of us believing this was forever. I cried for 3 days straight. Called in sick to work, which I never did, because facing my shifts at the hospital while feeling like my chest had been cracked open seemed impossible. My best friend Maya came over with wine and ice cream and rage on my behalf. He's a user, she said, her words slicing through my self-pity. He used you for 4 years while he figured out his next move. You paid most of the rent. You supported his fake business ventures. You gave him stability while he waited for his upgrade. Why wasn't I enough? I asked, knowing the question was pathetic but needing to voice it anyway. You were too much, Maya corrected. You were too real, too genuine, too good for a man who only values what people can do for his image. Jennifer Hartley is a transaction. You were a person. He chose the transaction. On day 4, I got up, showered, put on scrubs, went to work. Saved lives because that's what I did, even when my own life felt unsalvageable. My patients didn't care that my boyfriend had left me for someone richer. They needed me to insert IVs and monitor vitals and provide comfort in their worst moments. So that's what I did. On day 7, I stopped at a gas station on my way home from a particularly brutal shift. 16 hours on my feet. 3 codes. 1 patient who didn't make it despite everything we tried. I was exhausted in a way that went beyond physical. The kind of tired that settles into your bones and makes you question why you do this job. Why you care so much. Why you keep showing up. I bought a lottery ticket. I never bought lottery tickets. They were a tax on hope, on desperation, on people who couldn't see that the odds were mathematically designed to crush them. But that night, standing in that fluorescent-lit gas station at 11 p.m., still in my scrubs that smelled like antiseptic and disappointment, I handed over $5 and received a small slip of paper with randomly generated numbers. Good luck, the clerk said. And I laughed because luck had never been my thing. I went home, ate leftover takeout, fell asleep watching true crime documentaries because at least other people's disasters made mine feel less overwhelming. The lottery ticket sat on my kitchen counter. Forgotten. Just another meaningless piece of paper in an apartment full of things that no longer meant what they used to. Saturday morning, Maya called. Turn on Channel 7. Now. Why? Just do it. I turned on the TV, still half asleep, confused about why Maya sounded so manic at 9 in the morning. The lottery drawing was airing. Numbers appeared on screen one by one. 7, 19, 23, 31, 42, 48. Check your ticket, Maya demanded. I don't even remember where I put it. Kitchen counter. You texted me a photo of it when you bought it. Said something about throwing money away on false hope. I found the ticket. Stared at the numbers. My heart stopped. Then started again. But faster. Harder. Like it was trying to punch its way out of my chest. Maya, I whispered. I know. She screamed into the phone. I'm coming over. Don't move. Don't do anything. Just breathe. I stared at the numbers. I couldn't breathe. Comment claim below to lock in this kind of luck for yourself. Because what happened next was either proof that the universe has a sense of justice, or that chaos occasionally works in your favor. The jackpot was $89 million. After taxes and choosing the lump sum, I'd walk away with about $52 million. $52 million, 7 days after being dumped for not being rich enough. 7 days after being told I couldn't offer the opportunities or connections or lifestyle that someone else could. Maya arrived in record time, probably breaking several traffic laws. We sat on my thrift store couch and stared at the ticket like it might vanish if we looked away. You need to call the lottery office, she said. I need to process this. Process it later. Claim it now. Get a lawyer. Get a financial advisor. Get everything in place before anyone finds out. She was right. Maya worked in corporate law and understood how quickly money could disappear when the wrong people got involved. We spent the weekend researching, making calls, setting up protection. By Monday, I had a team lawyer, financial advisor, accountant, all bound by confidentiality agreements, all working to ensure that my windfall didn't become public knowledge until I was ready. The claiming process took 3 weeks. 3 weeks of going to work, maintaining my normal routine, pretending that my entire life hadn't just shifted on its axis. 3 weeks of looking at Marcus's social media, yes. I was that person watching him post photos with Jennifer at charity galas and yacht parties, playing the role of her successful boyfriend while she played the role of his ticket to wealth. The irony was almost too perfect. He'd left me because I couldn't offer him financial opportunities. And now I had more money than Jennifer's family had in liquid assets. Though of course he didn't know that. The money hit my account on a Thursday. I stared at my phone, at the number that was so large it didn't seem real, and felt something shift inside me. Not happiness, exactly. Not vindication. Something quieter. Something that felt like possibility. I quit my job the next day. Not because I stopped caring about nursing, but because I could finally care about it on my own terms. I called the hospital administrator and told him I wanted to fund a new trauma unit. State-of-the-art equipment, better staffing ratios, everything we'd needed but could never afford. Anonymous donation. I'd still work there, but part-time, on my schedule, without the crushing overtime that came from understaffing. This is extraordinary, he said. I don't know who's funding this, but they're saving lives. That's the point, I replied. I bought a house. Not a mansion. I wasn't trying to prove anything but a beautiful 3-bedroom craftsman with a garden and a reading nook and space to breathe. I paid cash. The realtor looked at me like I'd grown a second head when I said I didn't need a mortgage. I traveled. Paris, Tokyo, Buenos Aires. Places Marcus and I had talked about visiting someday, but never did because his business ventures needed capital and my nursing salary only stretched so far. I ate at expensive restaurants and stayed in nice hotels and discovered that money couldn't buy happiness, but it could buy freedom, and freedom felt pretty damn close. I donated anonymously to causes I cared about: women's shelters, scholarship funds for nursing students, organizations that supported people leaving abusive relationships. The money was changing my life, but I wanted it to change other lives too. For 3 months, I existed in a bubble of newfound independence. I didn't broadcast my wealth. My social media remained unchanged: normal photos, normal captions, nothing that suggested anything had shifted. Maya was the only person who knew the full story, and she guarded it like a national secret. Then Marcus called. I stared at his name on my phone screen, debating whether to answer. Curiosity won. Vanessa. God. It's good to hear your voice. How have you been? His tone was casual, friendly, like we were old friends catching up, not ex-lovers where one had abandoned the other for a better deal. Fine, I said, my voice neutral. What do you want, Marcus? Can I just check in on you? See how you're doing? You haven't checked on me in 3 months. What changed? He laughed. That charming laugh that used to make me melt. You're right. I should have called sooner. Things with Jennifer. They're complicated. I've been thinking about you. About us. About what we had. The manipulation was so obvious, it was almost insulting. What do you want? I repeated. Can we meet? Coffee, just talk. Against my better judgment. I agreed. Curiosity. Again. Or maybe I needed to see him one more time to fully close that chapter. We met at a coffee shop near my old apartment. He was already there when I arrived, looking slightly less polished than his social media suggested. The designer clothes couldn't quite hide the strain around his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. You look great, he said, standing to hug me. I allowed it but didn't reciprocate. We sat, ordered coffee. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. So, he finally said, how's the nursing going? I cut back my hours, needed more balance. His eyebrows rose. Can you afford that? I mean, rent in this city is insane. I shrugged. I manage. Still in the same apartment? No, I moved, bought a place actually. His expression shifted, confusion mixing with something else. You bought? How? Saved up. I lied smoothly. Inherited some money from a distant relative. Nothing major, but enough for a down payment. The lie came easily because I'd practiced it. Maya and I had created a cover story for exactly this situation. Something believable enough to explain any visible changes without revealing the truth. That's great, Marcus said, but his tone suggested it wasn't great at all. Listen, Vanessa, I've been thinking a lot about us. About how things ended. You mean about how you left me for someone richer? He winced. That's not. It wasn't about money. It was entirely about money. You said it yourself. Jennifer could offer you opportunities. I was wrong, he said, and he actually looked sincere. Almost. The opportunities weren't worth losing you. Jennifer and I. We don't connect like you and I did. It's all surface. Networking events and appearances. I miss what we had. The authenticity. You miss having someone who paid most of the rent while you pretended to be an entrepreneur. I corrected. That's not fair. Isn't it? 4 years. Marcus. 4 years of me supporting you while you chased schemes that never paid off. And the moment someone with actual money showed interest, you were gone. I made a mistake, he said, reaching across the table for my hand. I moved it away. I want another chance. I want us to try again. The audacity was breathtaking. Why now? What changed? He hesitated, and in that hesitation, I saw the truth. Things with Jennifer weren't working out. Maybe she'd gotten bored. Maybe her father had seen through his ambitions. Maybe the opportunities he'd been promised weren't materializing. Whatever the reason, Marcus was trying to backtrack, to return to the stability I'd provided. I realized what we had was real, he said. Everything else is just noise. I almost laughed. Would have laughed if the situation weren't so pathetically transparent. You want to know something funny, Marcus? What? You left me because you thought I couldn't offer you the life you wanted. The wealth, the connections, the opportunities, and now you're back because things didn't work out with your upgrade. It's not like that. It's exactly like that. You're a man who sees people as transactions. 4 years ago, I was the best transaction available. Then Jennifer came along with a better offer. Now something's changed. And you're trying to trade back. Vanessa, please. I leaned forward, my voice low and precise. I'm going to tell you something. And I want you to really hear it. You leaving me was the best thing that ever happened. Not because it didn't hurt, it did. But because it showed me exactly who you are. You're a user. A climber. Someone who values people based on what they can provide for your advancement. That's not true. And here's the really beautiful part. I continued, ignoring his protests. You have no idea what you gave up. You have no idea who I became after you left. And you never will. Because I will never give you another second of my time, my energy, or my life. I stood up, leaving my untouched coffee on the table. Wait, he said, standing too. Just. Can we at least stay in touch? As friends? No, I said simply. We can't. Lose my number, Marcus. Forget I exist. And next time you meet someone, try valuing them for who they are instead of what they can do for your ambitions. I walked out of that coffee shop and didn't look back. Not when he called after me. Not when my phone buzzed with texts. Not when he tried to follow me to my car. I drove away from Marcus for the final time, and the relief was overwhelming. Maya called as I was driving home. How did it go? Exactly as predicted. He wants me back because things with Jennifer aren't working. Did you tell him? About the money? Hell no. He doesn't deserve to know. He doesn't get to be part of this chapter of my life. Good. What are you going to do now? Everything he never thought I could. Over the next year, my life became unrecognizable in the best possible way. I traveled to 17 countries, learned 3 languages, started a foundation that funded nursing scholarships for women from low-income backgrounds, fell in love with a cardiologist who valued my mind as much as my compassion and didn't care about my bank account because he had his own successful career, bought my dream car, invested in startups run by women, funded medical research, lived so fully and freely that the woman Marcus had dated felt like a different person from a different lifetime. I ran into him once, about 18 months after our coffee shop encounter. I was leaving a restaurant with my boyfriend David, both of us dressed up for a charity gala we'd just attended. Marcus was walking down the street, alone, looking tired in a way that went beyond physical exhaustion. He saw me, did a double take, stared at my dress, my jewelry. The confidence that came from knowing my worth wasn't tied to anyone's opinion of me. Vanessa? He said, uncertain. Marcus. I acknowledged, not stopping. You look different. I am different. His eyes went to David, then back to me. Are you? I mean, did something change? I could have told him the truth. Could have explained that 7 days after he left me, I won $89 million and built a life beyond his wildest imagination. Could have watched his face as he realized what he'd missed, what he'd given up, what he'd never have access to. Instead, I smiled. Everything changed. I hope you're well, Marcus. And I walked away with David, leaving Marcus standing on that street corner with his regrets and his slowly dawning realization that he'd traded a real person for a transaction. And the transaction hadn't paid off. Through mutual friends, I heard the rest of the story over the following months. Jennifer had broken up with him after 6 months, apparently tired of his constant networking and social climbing. He tried to maintain his connection to her father's business, but without Jennifer's endorsement, those doors closed. His entrepreneurial ventures continued to fail. He moved back to a modest apartment, took a middle management job at a corporation, and lived the exact life he'd tried so hard to escape. Meanwhile, I lived mine. Not in revenge, not to prove anything to him, but because I finally could. Because the universe had given me an extraordinary gift, and I was going to honor it by living extraordinarily. I funded a new wing at the hospital where I'd worked all those years, dedicated to trauma care. Anonymous, of course. But I was there for the ribbon cutting, watching as my former colleagues marveled at the state-of-the-art facility that would save countless lives. I bought my parents the house they'd always dreamed of, paid off their debts, set them up for retirement. They cried. I cried. They asked where the money came from, and I told them about the lottery win I'd kept secret until I was sure it was real and protected. Why didn't you tell us sooner? My mother asked. Because I needed to figure out who I was with this money before I let it change my relationships. I needed to know I was still me. Are you? My father asked. And it was the most important question. I'm a better version of me. I answered honestly. The same person, but with the freedom to become everything I was meant to be. David proposed on a beach in Greece, with a ring he'd designed himself, and a promise that our partnership would be exactly that, a partnership of equals who chose each other every day, not because of what we could provide but because of who we were. I said yes. At our engagement party, surrounded by friends and family, Maya made a toast. To Vanessa, she said, raising her glass, who showed us all that the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living so well that your past becomes irrelevant. Everyone cheered. I looked around at the life I'd built, the people I'd chosen, the future I was creating, and felt something Marcus would never understand. Contentment that came from within, not from external validation, or financial transactions, or climbing social ladders. 2 years after the breakup, Marcus sent me a LinkedIn message. I'd blocked him everywhere else, but he'd found this one avenue I'd forgotten about. I saw your engagement announcement. Congratulations. I mean that sincerely. I know I messed up with us. I know I hurt you. I just want you to know that I'm sorry, and I hope you're happy. I stared at the message for a long time, debating whether to respond. Eventually, I did. I am happy. I hope you find whatever you're looking for, Marcus. But you won't find it by using people as stepping stones. I blocked him on LinkedIn. Closed that final door. Let him become a footnote in my history instead of a chapter. People ask me sometimes if I would change anything. If I wish I'd won the lottery before Marcus left. So he would have stayed. So I could have kept the relationship. The answer is always no. Because him leaving forced me to rebuild myself. Forced me to discover my strength. Forced me to learn that my worth wasn't tied to being chosen by someone who only valued what I could offer. The lottery win gave me financial freedom. But Marcus leaving gave me something more valuable, the knowledge that I could survive, thrive, and flourish entirely on my own terms. I don't think about him anymore, except when stories like this come up. He's not part of my present or my future. He's just a reminder of who I used to be, before I became who I was always meant to be. And that woman? She's living a life so far beyond what Marcus could imagine that his leaving feels less like a loss and more like liberation. The universe works in mysterious ways. Sometimes it takes everything away to give you everything you never knew you needed. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you becomes the catalyst for the best thing that could happen. 7 days between devastation and transformation. 7 days between being told I wasn't enough and discovering I was more than enough. 7 days that proved karma isn't just about punishment. Sometimes it's about reward. Sometimes it's about justice. Sometimes it's about showing you that the person who underestimated you will spend the rest of their life realizing what they lost. And you? You'll spend the rest of your life not caring. Because you're too busy living to look back. Have you ever been underestimated by someone who later regretted it? Share your story in the comments. Your experience might inspire someone who needs to hear it right now.